There are many definitions of professionalism, but few fully encompass what it means to be a professional in the early years sector. Certainly my understanding of this has increased considerably since I began as an early years assistant in my early 20s, and now as I near the end of the graduate qualification and in my role as a early years specialist in Northern Ireland. The Spiegel report provides useful descriptors that practitioners are considered most effective who have professional qualities, professional knowledge, and demonstrate professional thinking. Other definitions refer to values and beliefs, and that is based on knowledge and theory and experience. This aligns closely with Brock's 7 dimensions of professionalism, with the caveat of embedding passion within the standards, among other soft qualities that are not traditionally associated with professionalism in other sectors. She also describes a workforce that is reflective, articulate, and highly qualified. Key to this is the ability to reflect and evaluate own practice as intrinsic to professionalism in the early years. It is this consolidation of qualities and confidence embedded over time through various professional and personal experiences that I feel have elevated my status to that of an early years professional. The early years sector is by its nature linked to children's development, families, and requires complex multidisciplinary skills and multi-agency working, engaging skilled leaders and managers and administrators in effective early years provision. It is through my 17 years experience in the sector that I have seen the necessity of embedding this in my practice to be effective in my roles, initially as practitioner, then leader, manager, and now trainer and advisor. Most of my experience has been within the voluntary sector in Northern Ireland, which was non-statutory, where the challenges faced were primarily in meeting statutory sector requirements without the same support as our statutory sector neighbours in nursery schools. We received less funding, so I had to become adept at fundraising and sourcing grants, managing and coordinating a voluntary management committee, as well as stretching the budget to fulfil the same curriculum requirements. For this, we received less training, so I was responsible for sourcing and funding the staff training, and also ensuring training was cascaded within the group. While qualifications provide the knowledge required, experience and personal disposition develop the professional qualities, attributes, and skills that are brought to and developed within the role of the effective early years professional. In consideration of these soft skills required in the sector included our enthusiasm for children, patience and humour, communication skills, respect for differences, creativity, flexibility, and also, I believe, a drive to continue your own professional development. An example of the diverse qualities required can be seen within one aspect of my role as leader. That was as Senko within preschool. I had to develop skills in understanding and working with children with additional needs, but also skills in supporting their families and working with outside agencies such as educational psychologists and speech and language therapists. Empathy, care, patience and love were key and developed over time through experience getting to know the children's individual needs, but the acquired skill gives depth of understanding of them also. This is underpinned by a sense of self-efficacy, which refers to an individual's belief in their own capacity, confidence, and ability to control their own motivation, behaviour, and social environment. In this context, experiencing a great sense of self-efficacy will lead to success, but also inform the way future generations live. Professional knowledge, both intuitive and explicit, is that understanding which practitioners have and employ to develop a wide range of learning experiences for young children, and links closely to the qualities. Many are developed or at least introduced in initial early years training. The concepts of multi-agency working and partnership with parents, the basic tenets of child development and how best to engage children. The key, I believe, to becoming a professional in this area is to continue with your own education and learning, to constantly seek to increase your knowledge through training and additional qualifications, some required by the rule. For example, in 2012, the minimum standards in Northern Ireland came into effect and stipulated a minimum level 5 qualification for leaders and managers. The EPI report had identified that raising the bar, so to speak, by increasing qualifications led to increased skills and knowledge in all areas and ultimately improving the provision of care and quality of care for the children. It is increasingly common for early years practitioners to achieve graduate level qualifications. Unfortunately for many in the private and voluntary sector, Pay does not yet reflect this, forcing many to leave the sector to move into statutory education, teaching. This often brings the sector full circle back to having the least qualified members of society, as they're often only the least qualified will stay for minimal wages, responsible for the education and care of our most vulnerable early years children. I feel another key issue is the concept of othering that occurs. The divide between statutory and non-statutory education and qualified and non-qualified staff is palpable in Northern Ireland, in a nation where historically, if you to work with children, you became a teacher or nurse, where if you were not in one of those professions, you were not considered professional and therefore not equal in status, indicative of a profession in search of professionalism. I originally completed a level 3 qualification and worked my way up into a leadership role. When the minimum standards were introduced, I was fortunate to be in the pilot programme, and while sufficient for the role, many employers began to stipulate degree level qualifications. Since leaving the leadership role and beginning work as an early years specialist, I have felt the need to continue to increase my qualification to degree level to future-proof my role within the sector. This has had an associated impact on leadership within the sector, as many work with the way up through the ranks via a vocational route and end up in a leadership role that requires significantly different skills and knowledge. Rod discusses this dichotomy identified in the gap between expectation of practitioners in the sector to lead and manage competently, which is regarded as additional to the role as opposed to essential skills, and professional knowledge that should be embedded in training and qualifications. In my experience, the most challenging aspect was leading, managing staff, and the business of the setting without adequate training in this area. Employment laws, finances are and should be specialised skills in their own right, as opposed to carbuncled on to a basic job description upon promotion. I feel the professional knowledge gained on this degree and the skill acquired in my role as a specialist, particularly multi-agency working, has increased my confidence and ability to work more expertly in this area. This leads to the notion of professional thinking, the ability to reflect on practice and make decisions that affect pedagogy. For me, this has been the most significant factor in helping me understand that through articulating and evaluating my practice, through constant development of my aptitude to learn and extend my practice is the biggest indicator of my own professionalism. The knowledge and experience of the qualities I have learned, earned, and developed in 17 years of practice has helped me transition from technician to researcher. Constantly challenge what I do and why I do it has led me to become a better practitioner. I have thrived in delving deep into pedagogical thinking, experiencing trends in early years perspectives, from open-ended to instructive to free play, background to scaffolding, to use elements of these to develop and understand my own pedagogy. I feel that professional thinking has developed alongside my knowledge and qualities to create a shared time frame of reference with the children I work with, their families and the professionals. To have a level of skill that is transferable and can be applied in various situations has been liberating and rewarding. Raising the standards of my own professional practice has raised my expectations and therefore the standards of those I work with. That upward cycle contributes to feeling that finally, early years as a profession is caring by its nature as an asset and not a deficit. The emotive language used to define early years professionalism therefore intrinsically links to reflection of and in our practice. Effective multi-agency and parent partnerships and the skills involved with developing attached relationships with children that impact on children's holistic care, learning and development.